Hey, good afternoon, guys. Joshua here. We're gonna bring you with another deck profile. I know I haven't uploaded a video in a long time, but I would like to introduce you guys with the current meta Bt-10 Ragnaloardmon. Okay, a very underrated deck, but there's many ways to improve it. Right now, I'm going to show you a pretty standard version with a couple of different cards that I've added to it, and I think this will improve the overall playability of the deck. Let's go ahead and go into the deck profile. Alright, and leave any comments below, any suggestions, anything that you would like to add. And I am free to receive any feedback as to what can be improved and what cannot, what can be taken out and what can be, modified. Let's go ahead and go into it. So starting with the Digitamas, we're gonna go with 4 copies of the Sakurumon. So basically, this effect is when you play another Digimon with Legend Arms and it's traced by an effect, you gain 1 memory. This will be happening a lot as most of the cards revolve around playing the Legend Arms by effect, so it's going to be really easy to gain that memory. And the 5th one is just 1 copy of Doraemon. When one of your effects places a Digivolution under the card, under the Digimon you draw 1 card, so it's just extra drop power. And in the 5th Digitama, so to make sure that you never run out. Starting with the rookies, we have 2 copies of Ludamon. So basically, this is the Bt-3 Ludamon, where you can reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. You can add 3, maybe even 4 copies. This would be up to personal preference. I think 2 copies is the minimum, and it still works just fine because you can add up to Ragnaloardmon and a Legend Arm, so that's 2 cards potentially that you can add to your hand. Next one is 3 copies of the starter deck Ludamon. This will have the on play effect where whenever you play it by you pay 3 and then on play you can place it under one of your Legend Arms to reveal the top card of your deck, right? If it's a level 7 or less, you can play without paying the memory cost, and that's basically the main engine of this deck, where you're gonna be able to play the Legend Arms with 7 or less for free, right? So that's the whole point of the deck. Same thing with this one, Zubomon. He does the same thing as the Ludamon. The only difference is when attacking, if you have a Digimon that has Legend Arms in its play, you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 or less. So if you have more than one, you can activate it twice, which is pretty nice actually. And Ludamon himself will give your Digimon with Legend Arms blocker. So that's going to be extremely useful, later on when you have that level 6 in Ragnaloardmon, basically giving them blocker. The last copy is 3 copies of the Spadamon. It's a pretty good effect where you on play, you can digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. This will be slowing them down, and you will be able to gain a little bit more advantage. And on top of that, inheritable, when you're attacking, you can reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, and you can add a Legend Arms to your hand. So it's more add power, more drop power. Basically, you start searching for your pieces, so you can start going for that DNA Digivolve. Then for my level 4s, we do have 4 copies of the starter deck Zuba Eagermon. Another on-play effect, where you basically, if you on-play it, you can put it under your Legend Arms, and you can delete a Digimon with 5000 DP or less. Okay, so that's basically going to be removing the small bodies that are annoying, blockers, things that you want to clear out. And you can always delete another Digimon of 3000 or less with the inheritable effect when you're attacking, right? So that's more removal there. Last one is 4 copies of the Teoludamon. This one is going to be very, very important because it basically builds the defense of the deck. Alright, not only does it give reboot to one of your Legend Arms on play, but it will also give them blocker. So in case they get rid of your sources, with like certain decks that that destroy your sources, you will have more inheritable effects to guarantee that you have blocker, right? So that's why we have 4 copies of this guy. Okay, so for the level 5s, we do have 4 copies of the Ragnaloardmon. Okay, so basically, during your opponent's turn, this Digimon cannot be deleted by your opponent's effects. That includes options, Digimon effects, pretty much any effect that includes deletion, right? so you will have immunity from these kind of effects. And it does have the end of turn. You can DNA Digivolve. Okay, so that's gonna be a must as a 4 copies, excuse me. The same thing with the Duramon. You do need 4 copies of the Duramon, because when you Digivolve into your level 6, he will reduce the evolution cost by 1. So your Duramon will only cost you 2 memory, which is the red level 6, and then the black level 6 only costs 3 memory. So that's going to be pretty helpful as well. And it also has the end of turn effect, where you can DNA Digivolve. So it's basically the same thing as the black one. Now for the good stuff, level 6s, we do have 4 copies of the Durandamon. So as you know, this is probably the most important level 6 in the entire deck, because it will, on attacking, you can reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You can play any Legend Arms of 7 cost or less. So basically you can either play one that's able to place itself under it, so you can gain security attack +1, which is where the first effect comes in. When one of your effects places a Digivolution card under this Digimon gains 3000 DP and security attack +1. So that's the whole combo of the deck, right? And the inheritable effect is, while this Digimon is Ragnaloardmon, it does not activate security effects and option cards it checks. So it's basically a delicate plan, right? But in Digimon. And then we have 2 copies of the Bryludramon. You can always play 4 copies, that is perfectly fine. But you will see in a minute why I'm only playing 2 copies. So it's basically the same effect, but this time is when Digivolving instead of when attacking. You can reveal the top 3 cards and play one of 7 cost or less with Legend Arms. And when this Digimon is Ragnaloardmon as inheritable, is not affected by the effects of your opponent's Digimon. That's very important, because a lot of Digimon will be able to remove, and that's basically going to give them immunity, right? So that's why we run 2 copies. And instead of the other 2 copies, I am running a tech card, which is Baihuman. This card is can be very useful for decks that like to go wide, like Jesmon. Decks that like to spam out a lot of cards, right? So nowadays, a lot of decks like to go wide. So when you Digivolve, you can unsuspend any Digimon on the field that can be yours or your opponent's, and then you gain 1 memory for each of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon and Tamers. So if your opponent has multiple Tamers and Digimon, you will be able to gain back that memory. So basically it's going to be for free, right? And then at the end of your turn, for every 2 unsuspended Digimon Tamers your opponent has in play, you can trash 1 card from the top of your security stack, from your opponent's security. So you can potentially trash 1, 2 in just 1 turn, right? And on top of that, you can always attack if you have the memory to attack. So yeah, Bakuman can be a big game changer. And then the last, for Digimon, for the level 7s, we do have 3 copies of Ragnaloardmon. So as you know, Ragnaloardmon is the big boss of this deck. If you know what it does, basically when you Digivolve, either normally or DNA, it doesn't matter, it will contain Blitz. It does have Blitz, so you can always attack even if the memory is passed on. But what you want to focus on is the removal effect, which is if you have, for every 4 Digivolution cards in these sources, you can delete 1 Digimon and trash 1 card. So the idea is to have at least 4 sources. If you have 8, even better. So you can delete potentially up to 2 Digimon and trash 2 securities. And then on top of that, you can attack as well. Okay, and if you actually remove another security, it can unsuspend. So even if they attack you during your opponent's turn, this Ragnaloardmon will unsuspend, no matter what. So big boss monster is the main win condition. We do have as backup 2 of the Ragnaloardmon, right, from Bt-10. This is just there as a backup. It does have security attack +1, and you can gain back 3 memory by placing 1 Durandamon or Bryludramon from your hand on top of these cards, the Digivolution cards, and you will gain back 3 memory. So this can potentially also win you the game. Okay, not as important as the other one, but it's still pretty useful, and I think it's going to be very aggressive if you do it right. On top of that, it does have reboot, so yeah. Alright, so we're going to move on to the options. As the options, The only options that I run is 4 copies of Legend Arms because this card is super important. You may play 1 Digimon card with Legend Arms in its traits. Basically, it plays you a level 7 or less for free. Alright, the only condition you have to meet is you do have to have a black and a red Digimon card, either in the breeding area or in the battle area. So if you have a black tamer and you have a red card in the battle area, you can go ahead and activate it. By paying 4 memory, you can play 7 or less Legend Arms. And the security effect is just broken, where you basically, if they hit you in security, you can play 1 from your hand. And you place it in the battle area. You can also reveal the top 4 cards and order them in any way you want, either on top or on the bottom of your deck in any order, right? So that's why we run 4 copies of this card. Okay, it's the most important option card in the entire deck. Without it, it's one of the main engine cards. Alright, for the tamers, we do run 3 easy. So it's basically a similar effect to Legend Arms. Okay, if you happen to reveal all black cards, if you reveal the top 3, you gain 1 memory, so that's a plus. And you can also place them in any order you want. On top of that, it will set your memory to 3 at the start of every turn. So that's very important in general, just to start with as much memory as possible, right? Alright, so as the last options, we have 2 copies of Kongo. This is just personal preference. I think nowadays a lot of decks like to go wide. So especially Rookie Rush related kind of decks. Any deck that likes to go wide and play small Digimon, basically you're going to be able to paralyze their smaller Digimon. They're not going to be able to attack you for another turn. And if they hit you in the security, it's the same thing, right? And on top of that, it also affects recovery decks, where they're not able to recover for 1 turn. And that 1 turn can make a big difference, right? So that's why you run 2 copies. And the last card is 1 black memory boost. You can run 2, even up to 3 copies of this card as well, by taking out either 1 easy or one of these guys, one of these. But that will be up to personal preference. I think 1 is still good enough, where you can reveal basically the top 4 cards and gain 2 memory on delay, right? So who doesn't want to gain extra memory? Alright, so that's basically it for the deck profile. I have tested it, not that much, but against the decks of this current format, it could potentially win. You never know. We do have a couple of side deck cards that I want to mention though. If you want to go more aggro, you can always build in this engine, which is the security attack +1. The Bt-10 Zuba Eagermon will give your Ragnaloardmon security attack +1. Same with these guys, you can always add these as an extra. Same with this one, another security attack. So if you want to go the aggro route, you can always add those cards in. Or if you want to go the Digivolve route, you can add this one as well, possibly. Okay, there's always many different side cards you can add, such as Ultimate Flare. If you want to be more aggressive on the Digivolve, you can add Ultimate Flare. That's one of the better options as well. Or you can even add Iron Fisted Onslaught. Okay, it's basically a lane card. It's basically Gaia Force, where you can delete the Digimon with the highest play cost. Okay, if you want to add the starter deck one as well, you can do that as well. It's really up to you how you want to play the deck. But personally, I think this is a very balanced deck that can potentially come back from decks that like to go wide, and as well as it doesn't really hinder the DNA Digivolve. So that's basically the deck profile. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have any suggestions, let me know. Let me know how it works for you. If you have anything that you want to add to it. And thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time. Alright, until then, keep playing, and we'll be in touch. And thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to comment and subscribe. Thank you very much.